Poke Problems Podcast, episode 271, the Lombre episode.
Did you know that Lombre was the jolly Pokemon?
What? It's supposedly the reincarnation of a mischievous child. That would explain it. Although, Miz Sylver, did you know it became nocturnal so it wouldn't have to compete for food with bird Pokemon?
The late bird gets the worm?
Well, hello.
Greetings.
I am the Wolf Doctor,
And this is Miz Sylver.
and we'd like to welcome you to the Poke Problems Podcast. The podcast that's set in Malden?
Wait, is that a new region for Pokemon?
It is. They're going to have to do the new Pokedex, the whole thing, Miz Sylver.
I want to know what kind of specialty foods we have.
Oh, I would have said it was Kung Fu Tea, and I mean, there's a couple other really great restaurants just on this block.
Dumplings. Delicious dumplings.
But Miz Sylver, we're talking about Malden for many reasons right now.
Yes, I think we found someone who does important things in this area.
Well, the mayor made a recommendation that we invite this special guest today. So we'd love to introduce today's special guest, Kevin Duffy.
Thank you so much, Mayor Christensen.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Kevin, your title is actually quite long, like you were saying. So describe your job title here in the city of Malden.
So my job function is I'm head cheerleader for the city when it comes to businesses. I try to attract businesses to the city. Once they show interest, it's my job to guide them through the process and get them up and running. And once they're established, if they have any issues, I'm the person they get the call.
So when you are courting a new business to come to Malden, what happens there?
Really, it's all about customers. And really what businesses need is access to customers and access to employees. And one of Malden's best strengths is that not only are we on the Orange Line, we're on the commuter rail. It's the busing hub for the North Shore. We have 93 North to the west and Route 1 to the east. So you've just got access for everyone to get here. And that's really what sells us to businesses.
How do you meet new businesses? Is there like a dating app for that?
Oh, I wish that would be so much easier. No, it's really a lot of shoe leather. You got to get out there and walk around. And that's how I talk to a lot of the businesses here in the city, because the businesses don't have the time to leave their business and come up to City Hall and try to find out answers. My job is really to get out there and talk to people where they're at so that I can help them without them having to close down shop.
Nice.
So are you one of the reasons that Bodeborg is here?
I am. I grabbed the right leg and the mayor grabbed the left leg, and we wouldn't let the owner leave until he signed the contract.
So you had a van with candy and you kind of lured these Bodeborg folks.
in this gaming district.
Yeah, we're very fortunate that when Bodeborg was looking to come to the United States, they had identified Los Angeles and Boston as their two initial markets. And so the person that was looking in the Boston area was looking for about 35,000 square feet of empty space, wanted to be T adjacent, and that's just very hard to find. But fortunately for us, we had a long-standing business that was here in the square, Sparks Department Store. They were here for about 106 years, and the family had just decided to get out of the business. So we had the right space at the right time. When they came in to pitch us on this, the mayor instantly saw the opportunity that this presented to us. It's, again, customers. Customers coming for Bodeborg become customers for all of our restaurants. So we literally grabbed legs and said, you're not leaving until you sign the lease, and it worked out well.
The space layout makes perfect sense now that used to be a department store, the high ceilings, and now we have all these adventures and escapes in there and quests. Oh, wow.
So is part of this a lot of like matchmaking? Because the city doesn't own that property, right? So you have to convince that landlord to take a chance on this new weird European business. And
Exactly. You understand it entirely. My job mostly is as a connector. So even like, not talking about the gaming business, if you're a regular business in the city and you suddenly have some issues, it might not be a city problem, but I always encourage people to call me because I talk to all the businesses. So I can connect you to someone who's in your same boat, and you can learn from their experiences. So a lot of it is just saying to a landlord, hey, here's a potential tenant. This is the value we see to them. It'll increase your property value. Why don't we meet? And then from there, it's a lot of persuasive arguing and leg grabbing.
That's the theme of this show now, leg grabbing.
Leg grabbing.
So we talked a lot with Gary about, I feel so, it's too close to call him Gary and not the mayor, right?
No, he's Gary to
He's
many
Gary?
people.
Okay, we're allowed to call him Gary?
I just call him the mayor.
You just call him the mayor?
Well, you must play Pokemon with him,
Yes.
right? There you go.
We talked to the mayor about the gaming district specifically because that's one of the coolest features in Malden, and he's very proud of it being the first official gaming district in the United States that is not about gambling.
Right.
So were you already a city employee working on these problems when the mayor, are you going to give the mayor credit for this idea, first of all?
All credit goes to the mayor.
All right.
You can't sell something unless it's worthy, and Gary's the one that makes everything go. So hats off to the mayor.
So when he came to you with this idea and said, I think we should have a gaming district, how did that go?
Well, we saw the value when Bodeborg came to us, and then we got them up and running, and all of a sudden Bodeborg is bringing in literally busloads of people. Yellow school buses for the school students, the charter buses for the corporate buyouts. It's been amazing. Just a little anecdote. Bodeborg has sold out the entire facility for team building exercises to Google, Microsoft, and Wayfair 100 times each.
My
Yeah,
gosh.
so you're bringing in some high-end people who, when they're done questing, everybody's exhausted. They just want to go to a restaurant and be waited on. So the restaurants love the fact that Bodeborg's here. So we saw the potential for that, and we realized there's going to be a lot of other businesses that want to be downstream from a customer flow like that. So we started reaching out, approaching businesses, saying, why don't you come be part of this? And all of a sudden it started to get a mass, and we said, we got to call it something. So it became the Malden Gaming District.com.
.com.
.com.
That's right. We looked at the website with the mayor.
A lot of events on there, aren't there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Constantly.
Yep.
So what kind of work, well, I'm not going to say it's up and running and you don't have to do anything anymore. Certainly that's not true. I'm sure you have businesses are constantly changing and evolving, new businesses come in,
Always.
that kind of stuff. But when it comes to like day-to-day interaction with an established business like Bodeborg, how does that go for you?
Once businesses get up and running, for the most part, they're doing their thing and they have their head down and they're focused on that. Sometimes something will intrude upon their happy little life, and so that's when they need to call me to make a fix. My expression is, my job is to bring sunshine. Occasionally I have to bring rain. So in the case of Bodeborg, we just saw it out there. They had a bus unloading right on Pleasant Street, which is the heart of our dining district. And when a bus stops to unload 60 kids, it backs up traffic. So they're supposed to be loading out of Exchange Street, the street right behind it. So occasionally I have to go and knock on their door and say, get the bus out of the way. But that's, for the most part, they're running themselves unless we need to have an interaction.
What about the smaller businesses? Do you help them with publicity?
So I can give them recommendations. I can't do work on their behalf, but we have a lot of opportunities here. We have an agreement with SUFA signs. You may have seen those signs on the street corners that give like the bus schedules and everything.
Oh, yeah.
But you can advertise on there. We have the creative outdoor advertising units, which are basically trash and recycling units, but a company comes and puts them on high-profile corners and sells the advertising. So they're like little mini billboards. They're very affordable. So when someone says, I want to get advertising, we always say, well, let's connect you to the chamber because that's a great network. And then here are these other opportunities to get out to the bigger picture.
Are these businesses really directly connected to MaldenGamingDistrict.com as well, like for them to get their events up there?
So what we have is a group of dedicated volunteers who are making this happen, and they've done a fantastic job of going out there, cataloging everything that's happening, and then updating it monthly. So if you're ever wondering what to do, go to MaldenGamingDistrict.com, and I guarantee the city of Malden is something fun for you to do.
So that's a volunteer thing. That's really great that you have it involve citizens that way.
Absolutely. We actually had someone move from San Diego because they wanted to come to the Malden Gaming District. So now they live here in the city and they're working for one of our gaming businesses.
Okay, that's an incredible success story for Malden, right? In
Very much
wooing
so.
new residents is kind of
Cross country.
Yeah, that's incredible. I saw that there's also a lot of different platforms. You send us some Reddit links where there's like a Malden community Reddit and they have a specific gaming district event Reddit, subreddit maybe. I'm not sure how to call that.
It's
Miz
like
Sylver.
it's /Malden, and there's someone who posts on there that until yesterday I did not realize I knew in real life.
There you go.
Wait, you know this person?
I kept seeing this person post on the Malden subreddit. I'm like, this is really helpful. This is great. They're posting about all the events like Dungeons and Dragons and comic books and stuff. I'm like, who is this? Maybe it's somebody I've met at one of these events.
Right.
And it turns out I'm working on with them with another project, and they help out with the multiplayer meetup.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Malden is, it's got a really connected community compared to some other cities in that way. Like, so many of these people. Jaquay knew so many of these people.
Yeah.
I mean, Gary and Kevin have to know them, right? It's your business to know these people.
But that doesn't happen by accident.
Yeah,
that
it
a community
doesn't.
gets a common thread like that. And really, I got to give my credit to the mayor. He's come on podcasts like this. He goes to all the events. It's called the Menino method after Tom Menino, the mayor of Boston.
Yeah.
When he left office for his reason, basically it was like 80% of the people in Boston had said they had met him at some event. And that's exactly what Gary does. He goes out there. He's a real person. He's the mayor. But you can talk to him and meet him, and you realize, hey, he plays Pokemon Go.
One of the things that I really liked that Gary said is that being out with all these gaming events, it helps him get a full cut of all the demographics, people who might not come to a town hall meeting. He gets to meet different people and hear about things going on in the city from so many different perspectives because it helps with the youth perspective, especially with the gaming district. Although, I'm not going to say that none of us are, that all of us are in the youth demographic anymore. I'm sorry,
We're
Miz
totally
Sylver.
an 18 to 24 demographic. What are you talking about?
I wish it wasn't a podcast. You could see my jet black hair.
That's right.
Long flowing mane. It's beautiful.
Miz Sylver, is it time to take it back?
It might be. I think we might have to rewind it all the way back to when you had short, tiny, jet black hair before you grew these long, luxurious locks. When you were a tiny little child.
Back when your
gamer.
parents got to pick your haircut.
Oh my gosh. I got to pick the bowl at least.
Oh, man.
So, were you, as a small child, a gamer?
So it's funny. I'm of the age where there weren't electronic games prior. And so it was always board games and stuff like that. So we did that as a family. But I remember the day my father brought home Pong. And it was just like, this is incredible. And it was, the very beginning of it all. And then from there, all of a sudden you started seeing the Ataris pop up. I was an Intellivision kid, which was a different platform. Yeah. But it was a little more complex. So I liked it. And then through the years, it could be said that I minored in Sega in college. So I've just always stayed active with it. And to this day, I own a PS2, 3, 4, 5, a Wii, and we just still continue to game. I've played all the Assassin's Creeds. I'm a Rainbow Six guy.
Assassin's Creed.
I'm a player.
The Wolf Doctor is a huge Assassin's Creed person.
I am a big fan. Miz Sylver actually bought me my first Assassin's Creed game.
Is that true?
Yes, it was a celebration of me finally getting, an Xbox 360.
Oh, nice.
So yes, absolutely. When your father came in with that Atari, did he think it was for him or for you?
No, he knew it was for us, and
Okay.
it was the Pong. So it was really
just the straight up Pong, not even.
No, it was literally
the
the Pong.
Pong.
You have to probably go to the Smithsonian to see the Pong. It was probably 1974, 75. I mean, I was like 5 or 6 years old. I was born in 68, so you can do the math. But it was just amazing because you could play against each other on the TV. And so that was like, hey, this is cool. But then you had single player where then I'd spend hours. It was kind of like the breakout game. You could bounce the ball back and forth. And then that just developed the love of the games. And I remember going to somebody's party one time, and downstairs in the cellar, they had an Atari. And I guess looking back now, people say it was a horrible game. But it was like one of the first Indiana Jones games. And it was pretty complex, and there were no instructions. And so it was like, drop yourself in, and you go until you fail. And I realized that created my love for something like Bodeborg, which is where you go in and you try things until you fail.
Yeah.
Just try it. So you continued to game, and it sounds like you've never gone through, we call it a
hiatus?
the wilderness period.
The
where
dark
you're just,
ages?
The dark ages, where you give up on gaming and you think, gosh, I don't have time for this. I need to be a grown up, or I've got other things I need to do with my life. You never went through that period, it sounds like.
No, I was very fortunate. I've never thrown out my old games. That's
Very
why
smart.
they're all around the
yes.
house. And now
Very
that I have
smart.
kids, they love it. The Wii is still a great game, even though it's like, 20 years old now?
Is
But
it?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Don't do this to
No.
me. Don't do
the
this to
original
me.
Wii. Yeah, I bet
It's got to be close
20.
to that.
I remember when that came out because two of my friends, Aaron and his girlfriend at the time, they waited out at Best Buy overnight in a little tent.
It's close to 20. It's close to 20, Miss Sylver.
2006?
Yeah, don't
There
get
you
your
go.
mind blown. So now you're a gaming dad. You game with your family.
So I have a son who's 17, and so that's why I've officially announced my retirement from Rainbow Six, because I cannot compete. But I do find myself, I like playing games that I don't do multiplayer anymore. I'm a working dude. I got to spend
Who's got
time
time to
paying
get
bills.
good?
Right, exactly. You can't compete with these kids that are 14 and home. So I play the single players. That's why I love Assassin's Creed. I'm playing Civilization 6, which I think is 2017.
That's also
Same
an older
games.
game, but still very good.
Explosive.
It's still very good, and I understand there's a new version maybe in the next year or so. So I'm eager to see that. But I love those world-building, world-exploring games.
Have you ever been into tabletop RPGs or anything as part of your journey?
So 3 times in my life, I got really into Dungeons and Dragons. My freshman year of high school, my freshman year of college, and then the first year that I grew up in the restaurant business, and we opened a restaurant. And so that first year we were working like dogs, but our reward was we would play Dungeons and Dragons. And we got very much into it. And my heart was crushed when Hideo was killed, and I've never really recovered from that.
Oh.
Yeah, the barbarian. He met an untimely demise.
The similarities between you two is crazy, because in one campaign we played and you had a barbarian, and I feel like
I'm
that's
a barbarian
one of the
fan,
classes you
yeah.
love.
Barbarians are great. That berserker rage is tough to beat.
I also love being a barbarian because as a new player, depending on the edition you're in, some editions are easier and more difficult. Being a barbarian was nothing straightforward in Dungeons and Dragons, let's be honest, but it was a more straightforward choice that I understood how to play more easily. Might have been your idea, Miss Sylver, for me to be a barbarian.
I really wondered.
Yeah, I'll have to look back at my old character sheets, which I still have. It wasn't that long
Wow.
ago.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I greu up reading the Conan magazines, the comic books,
yes.
and heavy metal magazines, so barbarians were very accessible to me.
That's true. They're one of the more accessible D&D character types. They're present in many forms of media.
Right.
So when did you start getting involved with city government?
So that's a great question. It's funny. There's an old expression, life can be understood backwards, but must be lived forward. And looking back, it kind of makes sense to how I got here. But at the time, I just felt like I was careening from one thing to the next, but it did all make sense. So ultimately, at one point, I was running a nonprofit here in the city of Malden, and I was an elected official. I was a school committee person here for 2 terms. And then our mayor, who had been here for quite a while, had announced he was not going to run again. And, being a resident here in the city and a homeowner and a parent with kids in the schools, I knew it would be important. And I looked around and I thought Gary was clearly going to be a great mayor. I was prescient enough to say that. And I think it's been proven true. So I got connected with Gary. We worked on the campaign. He got elected. I was named on the transition team. So I came in with him. And then day one was 2012. So I've been with him since.
That's right. Gary is on his 4th term now. He just started his 4th term, right?
You can do the math.
I
from
can do the math.
2012 to now, right?
I remember seeing in he's got a Wikipedia page that he had just been, because he was just reelected. You probably had to vote for him, Miss Sylver.
I did vote for him, as did my Eevee stuffed animal.
You're not supposed to talk about your
Oh,
voter
I
fraud
know.
on air, Miss Sylver. She
It's
just gives
scratched away.
the Eevee the sticker. That's the deal.
Sorry, I got you.
You're allowed to take your emotional support Pokemon into the booth. So you started off right with Gary when he started his beginnings as a mayor. And when was the gaming district inspiration? When does that line up with the Bodeborg kind of coming in?
So one of the things we learned on the campaign trail was that businesses didn't always have a clear-cut idea of who to go to for problems. It was kind of a guess which department would be the one for your problem. So we recognized that one of the best things we could do to help Malden grow would be to create a position that really is all about business development. So that became my position in 2012. Did not exist before.
Gotcha.
And, I've come, like I said, the restaurant business, own businesses, have an MBA. So I feel like I was qualified to do it. So, and I'm also a people person, so I don't mind getting out there and cold calling on doors. So we're doing that, and Bodeborg came about 2014. And they said, this is what we're trying to do. We worked with them. It was actually quite an insane process because it wasn't clear cut. The state has some ruling.
Permitting and what the fire safety zoning is on that.
So if you're an obstacle course, the state oversees you. But if you're an escape room, the city would oversee you. Well, what's Bodeborg?
Bodeborg's right in the middle.
There's no other example like it in the United States. So we actually had to contact our legislative delegation, the state, and have a meeting where we got people to decide who was going to oversee it. So we were able to get them through this whole process of permitting. But then to build out their quest, they had to bring in people from Sweden, the original quest builders, and they had visa problems. So we had to contact the federal government and help them get through that process. So it was a whole labor of love to get them. And they opened up in 2015, and immediately we started seeing the people flowing in, and that's when we said we're on to something here.
You left out a very important detail in that story, which is what was the ruling about whether or not it was an escape room or an obstacle course?
Or something else now.
Listeners need to know.
Well, they said it's neither, but we're going to give the city overview of it, which makes it so much easier for both.
Whoa, yeah,
So
that's
when
great.
they need to do things, they pull permits through the city as opposed to having to go to the state.
Okay. It's neither.
It's neither. It really is neither. People say, it's like an escape room. No, it's not.
It's so much more.
I would have worried the answer was it's both. So you have to have both sets of regulations.
No, that would be cumbersome.
Okay,
and
so
they'd never be able to evolve.
It was ruled unique.
Very unique, right. But the question was, whose plate does this land on? And we wanted it to be local, and we were fortunate enough to get it to go that way.
Oh, that's cool. That probably was a huge draw for them that you were able to get it into the city's purview so that they didn't have to deal with. I imagine as a Swedish business coming to the United States, you have no idea what legal stuff you're going to be dealing with. But if you can talk to the guy, you can talk to Gary, the mayor, about your business stuff one-on-one, that's actually much easier to understand.
Absolutely. And I think that's what sets Malden apart. Again, everybody knows Gary. He's quick to hand out his number, saying, call me if you need anything. And then he's got me. He sicks me on problems, so I'll go out there and get it. And we get it done. And I think it's a level of service that you don't see in other cities, and that's the Malden difference.
How do you balance all of these fluctuating commitments with these different businesses and your role in the city? Are you still a business owner yourself? And how do you balance that all?
So I left the restaurant business. I was at the University of Connecticut. I came back in 2006, and I was going to open another restaurant here in Boston. And while I was scouting for locations, I actually ended up meeting a person who had just been elected state representative. And he was like, he was a lawyer. So I showed him the new franchise agreement that I was going to open under. It was different from the one we opened in Connecticut. And he said, this is not a good deal. Wait the guy out. But while you're waiting, I just got elected state rep and I'm interviewing for chief of staff. And that's all of a sudden now I'm in politics. That's why, looking back, it makes sense. But, going at the time, I was like, from a restaurant to politics. But they're remarkably similar. If you've ever managed a commercial kitchen, it's a lot of the same stuff. Put out fires when there's fires and look like you're doing nothing when things are going smoothly. So
a lot of people skills, too. Same thing that way.
It is, customer service. And that was Gary's big thing when he came in. He wanted the city to be customer service oriented. So really the businesses are our customers. So we don't want people walking away. An old adage in the restaurant business, you serve a good meal, people will tell their friends. You serve a bad meal, they'll tell everybody. So we wanted people like Chad, who's known in the community because he's such a unicorn out there. What a great experience he had with Malden and how Malden helped him with all these different stages. And word gets out to other business owners, and all of a sudden they're calling saying, hey, how do we get in Malden?
Nice. So how do you're talking a lot about your role with the businesses. Do you have a lot of interaction with citizens, like just regular everyday citizens in terms of how they interact with the businesses?
Occasionally.
Okay.
I mean, if someone has a bad experience with the business.
Oh, you'll hear about it. They tell everybody.
It's not our purview. Okay. So I have a ready-made email, these are your options. This is how you can kind of raise awareness of this. But that's few and far between. And I'm, like you said, I'm a people person. I'm out there. So people see me, they know me, and they'll grab me. The only person who can walk through the square slower is Gary because everybody's stopping him to talk to him. So, but it's been a great experience. I live in the city, like I said. I feel like I personally support the restaurant business through my contributions regularly. So,
that's right. Malden does have I was going to say a burgeoning restaurant scene, but it's been around for a while.
Oh yeah, and the great thing about Malden is because Malden is so diverse, it's reflected in our restaurant scene. So when you come here to have food, it's authentic, whatever country it's from. So we call it Dine in Malden, Taste the World. because you can have Ethiopian food, you can have Indian food, you can have just run through the whole gamut, and there's genuine food here. Have you had Nepalese food yet?
Not in Malden, but I should try it
You
next.
could. You could.
Yeah, there's everything here. Is it just on the street we're on right now, Pleasant Street? There are so many restaurants, like you're saying. It's kind of the restaurant row.
And I tell all the restaurants that when you come in, you have to bring your A game. You can't just kind of slap something out there because you won't survive.
Yeah. So, what do you hear from? What I know you're saying you don't necessarily interact with citizens too much directly, but what do you hear from them about how they feel about the gaming district? Like, what's the public perception?
I think a lot of times it's a generational thing. I think people maybe my age and younger, or maybe just a little bit younger than me down, they get it. They love it. They love having these options. It's, it's experiential retail. That's really what Gary and I started saying we need to go after. Amazon's cutting out major retail, big box stores. Those are hard to compete with. But experiential retail, people have to come down here for. So now you're getting Bodies in the Square and something like Bodeborg or Project Pod or really any of the other games. You come out, you're hungry, you're thirsty, so now you're supporting the restaurants. Perhaps you paid for parking. Maybe you walked by a store and you saw something in the window. So experiential retail really is a driver for many industries across the board.
You're not allowed to have favorites, obviously, because you work for the city. That is very clear to me.
It is. You make one friend and 20 enemies.
Yeah. But I was going to ask you, have you had any exciting experiences at any of the newer businesses in the gaming district that you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, I told you I have a 17-year-old son, and there's a lot of screen time, which you don't want that much screen time. Enough is enough beyond that. So we go to Bauget Pool Hall, which is right over on Exchange Street underneath Mixer Esports. It's a nice little tight pool hall. It's about 6 tables, and we can go and shoot some stick.
Nice.
So it's good stuff like that.
Miz Sylver, Kevin was telling me about a giant pool hall that's near your house. And how did I not know it was there?
Is that the one that's right off the bike path?
Correct.
Okay,
right
I've seen it, but not gone inside of it.
That one's super impressive. It feels to me like a New York type thing in that you're going up like almost like an industrial staircase. There's a big steel door. You roll it back, and all of a sudden there's 40 gorgeous pool tables. It's a decorated hall. Yeah, it's amazing billiards, but run by Mason Shooney. World-class billiards player, like champion.
So you can go and watch some impressive playing there as well, not just play yourself, really.
Absolutely. The top-level competition there. He has tournaments out of there, and again, world-class players.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Malden is a destination.
It is. Now, one of the things that you may not know is that we are avid room escape people, myself and my family. So we have actually gone all over the country playing room escapes. Vegas, Nashville, Florida, New York, Boston. But one of my favorite cities to go is Montreal. And if you've ever been up to Montreal, it is like the Malden Gaming District on steroids.
Whoa.
This sounds like a field trip.
Yeah. Do you hear from other municipalities that are working on gaming districts? Do you exchange ideas with people in other municipalities? And do you hear from municipalities who want to do this?
No.
Oh, that's a bummer.
No, it's not, because it becomes super competitive and people want to steal it. And it's a finite game here. So we feel, or at least I'll say it, I feel that like Seaport is kind of trying to steal our lines. They're running with our playbook. Experiential retail, bringing in these fun activities, but they don't have a gaming district, they don't have a website, and they don't have a big old sign right in the downtown.
Well, I mean, I wasn't thinking so much, immediate competitor districts. I was thinking that maybe, something in Tampa would,
Well, once you get outside of the immediate greater Boston area, then I don't necessarily talk to the cities, but when we go to all these locations, I am constantly pitching, because that's the great thing about the website. If you're in Nashville talking to a company and you say, hey, why don't you come to the Eastern Seaboard? Here's the website. They can call it up and they're like, look at all this stuff. Well, it's an entrance to a market. We have a big announcement we're very close to being able to make. And it is someone that has opened in one market, did very well, moved to an adjoining market, did very well, and now they're ready to come to the Boston market, and they're going to come to the gaming district.
Oh, you're teasing us here.
I know, this is torture.
Miss Sylver and I have so many ideas. Well, your mom has lots of ideas too. Let's not forget.
I'm all ears.
Her mom is a huge fan of going to the movies and is really hoping that we'll be getting something like a sweet, what's the Austin Draft House or whatever, something like that. One of those really cool movie theaters where you get the really nice food and the really nice, atmosphere. So I know that's a tough one to cite, but
well, see, that's where the business side kicks in. And you got to realize the gaming side would be fun, but when you look at the business numbers, that's a tough business to be in. That's why you see mostly Googleplexes now. You have to have many houses to be able to afford those licensing rights.
So you can't tell us about this upcoming announcement, which I totally understand, but what other things are your ambitions for having joined the gaming district?
Well, if you look at the gaming district now, you see that we have quite a variety of different games, different mediums. We've created a virtual reality game, an augmented reality game like Pokemon Go called Chrono Squad, which is tied into Malden's amazing history so that you can actually use your phone, you get some clues, you figure out the location, you go and you hold your phone up, and then we'll superimpose some factoid about Malden's history and give you clues for the next location. So that's a multi-generational game that can be done. Then we also have some elements where, the traditional escape rooms and the pool hall and the esports. But I think ultimately what I'd love to do, because this industry is in Massachusetts and we'd love to get it concentrated, game developers. Ooh. I want to see more game developers coming here because a lot of times in that field, you need some downtime to recharge your creativity. What better place to do it than in the gaming district?
That's right. Delicious meals and other games besides your own to take your mind off your development woes.
Exactly.
Has the city considered, well, first off, I was going to say Urban Media Arts is a really cool place. I'm sure the city is, heavily involved in making sure that this facility that we're recording at today is able to maintain its cool facility and have lots of programs. And I'm sure you guys sponsor programs. Have you thought about sponsoring game developers in that way?
So unfortunately, in that regard, we get asked questions a lot, like, is there money for businesses to develop? Malden is a small city.
It is.
And we're punching above our weight when it comes to trying to attract businesses. But one thing we cannot offer is, hey, here's a buttload of money to come. We were recording a bunch of escape rooms recently, and we lost a couple of them because Boston was able to give them $100,000.
Oh.
But what we can offer them that Boston doesn't offer is somebody like me. I'll be there every step of the way.
Personalized service.
Time is money. I'm saving you money.
That's right. We got personalized service for game developers and game businesses of all types here in Malden.
Gary always said, go from red tape to red carpet. And I think we've done that.
Man, he is good at coining a turn of phrase. Dang.
I just hope that someday there's an arcade here. That's my only dream.
So just to go back to Malden's really cool history, taking advantage of what we have here. So we've created these really cool pub crawls. Now, I don't know if you know this, but the first bank robbery murder in the United States happened here in Malden. And it was actually the son of Elijah Converse of the sneaker fame, who was our first mayor. So we built a fun game around it. Yeah, and then the next year we added a second game, Perry Mason. The author is from Malden High graduate.
I did not know that.
So we have a Perry Mason type case where you're going around and you go to these different establishments, and in each establishment there's two actors. And one actor's lying to you, one actor's not. So you have to go and test them and see which one you're going to trust, but then they have to trust you. So they'll give you some tabletop puzzles or something that you have to solve, and then you'll get a clue. By the end of the night, you've solved the mystery. And if we can do it again next year, we're going to add a third game because Wonder Woman is from Malden.
Oh, what?
The creator of Wonder Woman is a Malden High grad.
How did I not know that?
These are great things
Malden
to be learning about
Malden.
Malden.
Great history.
So you guys did that as a live event?
Oh yeah.
But you're gonna rerun it for sure, right?
Right. We've done it for 3 years. I think we have the last two. It's on the MaldenGamingDistrict.com, but one is the Converse murder mystery, Murder at the Malden Bank, and then the other one is the Curious Case of the Fiery Temper. It's based on a Perry Mason.
I saw those being advertised and I was trying to figure them out, and I'm so glad that you now explained it because now I get what they're doing. That is so cool.
Oh, yeah. We partnered with Encantrix Productions. They put together the storyline. They brought in the actors, and then we coordinated with the restaurants so that they have these opportunities. And every night that this game runs, about 88 people will go through the downtown and go through 4 different restaurants and walk by a lot of others that I know they're going to want to come back to on their own free time. So it's been a great boon for the city.
Oh my gosh. How often are these games run?
So we're kind of winding them down now, but I think there is
summer.
talk. Well, yeah, but I think there is talk of maybe adding a few more in September because, again, the sales just continue to go. So if the people are willing to buy tickets, let's keep it going.
Wow. Okay, that Miz Sylver, you should be one of the characters in this. I think you need to try to get in on this. You play Wonder Woman sometimes.
Yes, and I do a lot of historical ghost tours in Salem.
Cool.
I used to stop by.
Oh, that would be really cool.
Oh, that's so cool, Miss Sylver.
But just to continue to round out the games, we have some things that may be stretching the definition a bit of gaming. So like we have karaoke here. Now, it's not just regular karaoke.
It's entertainment, though.
You can have competitive karaoke. Now it becomes, you get a score of how well you sing versus the next person. And it's a style of karaoke where you're in a private room with just your friends. So you're not singing in front of strangers. It's like, you can laugh at me, but you're next. So
That's right.
I was hoping there would be flamethrowers involved.
That's the kind of karaoke.
don't
Miss
cross
Sylver
the
wants to
stream,
go to.
Ray.
Yes. Well, we've done a lot of talk about the gaming district, but, this podcast does claim to, talk about Pokemon.
That's correct.
Oh, that's my one area of weakness. But the mayor is an avid player, and the only other person that's on his level is my wife. So I am surrounded by
Oh,
Pokemon
so you hear a
players.
lot of Pokemon names said out loud.
I do a lot of driving while people are just flicking their phone.
You've got a car full of all the important people in the city, and we have
And
to
they're
be
all
sure that you're.
playing.
Yeah.
Have you played any Pokemon games ever or ever collected the cards?
Never. That was not my thing. I
Just
did my
checking.
other stuff. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. But I don't know many people in city government that have done Dungeons and Dragons. So.
Do you have a favorite Pokemon just from being exposed to so many of them?
The yellow one?
The
The yellow one.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay,
The
good.
yellow one.
Whatever he or she or it is called, the yellow one.
The yellow one. There we go.
We do have a lot of Dungeons and Dragons guests on.
Oh,
so
cool.
I'm curious. It sounds like, is Barbarian your favorite character class?
Well, you know what? Now that I'm older, and if I was to restart something, I might think along the lines of doing something like a dual class. A thief/wizard always kind of intrigued me because of the skills it gives you. But Barbarian is just great. It's just,
It's fun.
you
That
pair a
sounds
barbarian with a
fun.
paladin and you're going to get into something quick.
Smash.
Do you have a favorite D&D monster?
Oof.
There's so many good ones. This is a very difficult choice.
Yeah. Well, I can't really say that I can remember getting up to the higher levels where there's some really unique ones. I've bashed plenty of skeletons and stabbed plenty of zombies or beheaded zombies. So I don't really think I can say that. Usually it's, with barbarians, you're fighting hordes of something.
What's your favorite Assassin's Creed game? There are so many choices.
Oh yeah, there are. Obviously Black Flag was the one that really cemented it in my head. I love the sea battle stuff, but I think it was the Egyptian one, Origins,
Yeah.
or was it the Greek? No, the Egyptian one I think I like better because it had the afterlife, and I like that one. And the new one, already pre-ordered it, is coming out in November, and that one is set in Japan. I'm looking forward to that.
So cool.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, big fan of samurai movies.
That could be that's going to be a good one. They've all been a little different. Miz Sylver bought me Black Flag. That was the first Assassin's Creed I
That was a
played.
good one. You
It was
hooked
a good
somebody
one.
on that.
It worked for me. I didn't understand the game at first. Like there were some parts where it's like, am I supposed to be fighting this jaguar or am I supposed to let it kill me? You're supposed to just keep moving on. You're not supposed to go bother with that until later. I was doing a bad job trying to 100% all the
That's
interactions when I should have just gone and then later when you get your power-ups, you're like, oh, this is so much easier. What am I doing
Much better
here?
that way. That was the first game I did my 100% on. And then I was a huge Red Dead Redemption fan, the first one. And then it was the second one that was unbelievable.
That was an incredible
And you
game.
played that one too?
Yeah, we seem to like the same games, Kevin.
This
That's
is
what I'm really
crazy.
getting, except for the Pokemon blind spot. What's
it is a
going on?
blind spot,
Missed opportunity.
I guess. But actually, have you ever tried Days Gone?
No.
Oh, I've seen that one.
Yeah, it's really an interesting game because I thought it was a fantastic game, post-apocalyptic, zombies, but you're set in the Pacific Northwest and it's motorcycle. I'm a motorcycle guy. So you're driving around on your motorcycle or trying to rebuild the world. But what's interesting about it was such a successful game, but then the company ran into financial problems and there was never a second generation. And I keep waiting for someone to kind of pick that up because it was such a great game and terrifying.
I remember seeing actually some clips of it online because there are some stages where the zombies just keep coming, right? Like you're in your
Hordes.
hideout, and I remember seeing scenes where unbelievable they could possibly manage to keep up with shooting all of these zombies level. Like,
And a lot of times you just got to run.
Yeah.
Because you can't take on a horde until you've kind of built up your skills to create napalm and stuff like that. So it was a super fun game. But again, it was kind of the motorcycle thing that got me into it. And then I was just like, this game's really scary.
I'm really getting a sense of what kind of games you like. This is working. Now we can trade recommendations later.
Cool. I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely.
Do we have any more gaming questions we must ask Miss Sylver?
Well, we were on Dungeons and Dragons a little bit. I think the only last one I have, but I'm not sure if you have an answer to, is if you have a favorite color dragon.
Jeez, I
Difficult
guess
as well.
Well, the green always seemed to be the ones that caused the most problems, but I think the gold was the one you wanted, because if you could slay the gold dragon, you had the best treasures there.
They probably have amazing treasure hoards. They are probably the most powerful of all the dragons, I think, in the normal world. So that would be a good choice.
We do a lot of tabletop gaming here too. Like Faces has an event with tabletop gaming, the Malden Public Library, and one of my favorite tabletop games is Talisman.
Oh, yes!
It's kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons for beginners,
yes.
you know? So we played that a whole lot in my house.
And it takes just as long as playing a regular D&D session.
Feels that way. And if you get those expansion packs, it could be longer.
Ooh, that I would like to try.
I've never
we got
played
them
anything
all.
besides the base game. I was joking about Talisman because in Parks and Rec, one of the characters invents a board game that involves, and I'm like, that's a send up of Talisman. He's sending up Talisman. You know, the game with the cones that takes forever and
needlessly
weird,
complicated.
Needlessly complicated and has a very dedicated and obsessed fan base, but it's like 5 people.
Yeah, the only thing that bothered me about Talisman is there were 5 possible endings, and you'd have to pull one card that nobody saw and it went in the middle, and that was the end of the game. And one of those cards was, you're sucked into the void, game over. And so it's like, you'd be the first one there thinking you're about to win, and then it's like, oh no, I lost.
And you cannot do anything about that.
Yeah, game's over for everybody. It's like, oh, that's no fun.
That's right. There are tabletop events here in Malden.
Oh, yeah. We try to cover all the bases.
Is there a dedicated, well, I don't say dedicated, but a gaming store in Malden that I don't know if we have quite.
So we have New England Comics right next door.
That's true.
And they do tremendous, this Saturday they do a big event.
I know they do Magic every week.
Magic, that's it. Thank you. They have a big like line out the door type event. And I believe we used to have Hobby Bunker, but unfortunately due to economics, they had to find a cheaper space. So I think New England Comics is going to step into that void and start selling some board games.
I'm going to ask a question that I asked the mayor too, which was, how has the pandemic reshaped some of this gaming district stuff? Because I know I'm sure it was not good for it, but.
No, it hurt all businesses, especially something like Bodeborg, which was told you had to shut down. There was no discretion. And then some of their quests were almost impossible to clean to the level that you needed it, so they had to pull those out. But I think what really impacted the gaming district from the pandemic was when you look at esports, gaming. You know, it used to be arcades. It was very social and public. And then you had the rise of the consoles, and suddenly everyone's playing home alone. And then you started to get these esport cafes where, again, it was esports, but it was now social again. And then the pandemic hit and kind of drove everybody back home to their consoles. And I don't think that community has really rebounded yet. I think it's inevitable, but it has been delayed. So if one thing I could kind of erase from the pandemic would be the impact on
the businesses.
Sports.
Absolutely, yeah. All right, Kevin, I think that's all the questions we have today, Miss Sylver. Did you have any more questions about Pokemon or Nintendo or Wii games? Or what's your favorite Wii game? Let's go with that one, too.
Oh, well, my wife is absolutely deadly with anything with a sword. So I avoid those games. Like the slice ones, she's unbelievable at that.
Accurate, huh? All right.
But I think Wii Resort, the plane one, where you're doing the dogfight flying and you can pick day or night, I love that one. And then there's the brain games ones, which are fun, you know.
Brain age.
And in golf, Wii Golf is, I mean, I don't need to play real golf. I'll go Wii Golf. You don't need to get aggravated chasing the ball. So, yeah, great stuff. And keeping all those old games, you get the classics. Anytime I feel like pulling out The Simpsons Road Rage, which is based upon Grand Theft Auto's engine, that's a fantastically fun game.
It's great.
You know, I don't know if you've had the chance to attend Multiplayer Museum yet, but you really should, based on everything you're saying. Like, the kind of multiplayer games you enjoy will be featured there.
I love the fact that they're set up down at Idle Hands. It's one of the best places to go and have a good beer and play a good game.
And they have pretzels.
Jaquay really spoke very highly of being at Idle Hands. He's a huge fan.
Excellent.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us this week.
The pleasure was mine. Thank you, Miss Sylver, and thank you, Wolf Doctor, Dr. Wolf.
We have to have confusing names. It's part of the show.
Totally understand. I was going to give you my screen name, and then I realized I use it for a lot of different media, so I think I'll keep that to myself.
Should we know your tag?
Yeah. Is there any way the listeners should get in contact with you if they want to, say they're a business, what's the way they should get into contact with you?
So if you go to maldengamingdistrict.com, there is a page on there for businesses that want to come to the city, but you can also just Google Duffy Malden, and I'm usually the one that pops up on there. But cityofmalden.org, Kevin Duffy, kduffy at cityofmalden.org. So
nice.
I'm accessible.
Perfect. That's awesome. We'll make sure to get some contact info for you up in the show notes so that our listeners can pester you with requests for businesses they want you to entice to Malden.
We always love to hear that.
For the leg grabbing. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Wow, Miz Sylver. I really enjoyed having Kevin on the show. Not just because he's my game twin.
I cannot believe the number of games he was listing off. And I'm like, I haven't played these, but the Wolf Doctor plays all of these games. Where is this coming from? You guys have to be friends on like Steam or I don't know,
we got to get on the PSN network together. That's
World
clear.
Or something.
Well, the Malden Gaming District is very cool. And you wanted to give a shout out to one of the volunteers that we know does some of the online coordinating.
And I referenced this person earlier, and I couldn't tell if their real name was in their username or not, so that's why I didn't want to say their name.
Yeah, you don't want to bust people. I get it.
But on Reddit, if you're trying to find information about the Malden Gaming District, her name is MGD Tess, and she posts all sorts of cool information about finding different events, from Dungeons and Dragons to Pokemon Go raids. It's all there. You will find it, whatever it is.
Let's be clear. It's Malden Gaming District Test. That's what the MGD stands for. Got it, Miz Sylver? It's like almost like official.
All right, Miz Sylver is not very smart. I'm going to go uninstall myself over here.
MGD Test.
I
Thank
was
you
trying to figure out what that stood
for being a sweet Malden resident.
Yes, and all of your posts are greatly appreciated, and you're putting them all in one place so I can just find everything.
There are so many things going on.
Woo!
Kevin alluded to a lot of them, but Malden is busy.
I've always wanted to make it to one of the board game nights, or they have some upcoming Dungeons and Dragons events, so maybe I could run something and torture players. Who knows?
Yeah, I saw they were looking for volunteers for one-shot DMing, and I was thinking to myself, there's some table. Are they a lucky table or an unlucky table? Either way, they'll have a memorable experience with Miz Sylver someday.
Doctor, what does that even mean? We need to get back to our home campaign that we used to run with Matt Miranda and all those other people.
I miss it. I do miss us playing. It wasn't D&D. It was DCC.
The last one.
Dungeon Crawl Classics. I really enjoyed that. Love to see Matt Miranda a little more. It was a fun time.
Good times.
But Miz Sylver, we do have some news we should talk about in Pokemon Go. And I am going to make it my effort to make sure that this show goes up before the news we're talking about is irrelevant. Let's talk about Mega Rayquaza Special Raid Day event, Makeup Day.
Wait, Makeup Day?
This is meant to be sort of a makeup for some previous Mega Rayquaza raid issues, I believe.
Oh, I mean, I just thought that Mega Rayquaza was so awesome that it's just being brought back because we should have Mega Raid weekends every weekend. Why not?
They actually probably should just do this every weekend. That would be cool. Saturday, August 3rd, which is hopefully before this show airs, there will be 3 Mega Raid slots. 11 a.m., 1 p.m., and 6 p.m. in your local time.
Ooh, I can get even more Mega energy.
Everyone loves Mega Rayquaza.
And it looks like there will be a free timed research where you can get a meteorite, so I can evolve even more of them.
Right. That's actually really important. You need a meteorite with Mega Rayquaza.
That way you can teach it Dragon Ascent.
If it's anything like last time for Mega Rayquaza Raid Day, the timed research wasn't incredibly difficult to complete, but it did have to happen, I think, that day. It is timed, and they're not kidding about the time. So you have to pay attention if you want that meteorite.
And that was actually the last time I saw the mayor was on Mega Raid Day for Rayquaza.
Well, that's the next time you're going to see the mayor.
I did a drive-by. There was a huge group of people gathered over near one of the parks, and I was going to like 5 other events that day. So I was covered in Rayquaza, walked up, said hi to a couple of people, did a raid, and then ran away. Hopefully this time I can go out with the group, which is way more fun.
Now, speaking of mega raid days, what about Mega Lucario Day, Miss Sylver? Did you enjoy that?
Oh, well, Wolf Doctor, I was working during that day, so I didn't get to play as much as I like. But I did get one raid in, so I do have a Mega Lucario.
They were generous with the mega energy because there's nothing more depressing than doing a couple of those raids and not having the mega energy. And if you don't have one mega evolved already, you can't earn more mega energy, I believe.
Yeah.
I think you have to walk a creature that's been mega evolved to get mega energy. Okay, this is a buddy thing. This is not our topic for the week, but we will come. I think it's going to be one of our next back to basics topics, Miss Sylver.
Well, Wolf Doctor, how did you feel about Mega Lucario Day?
I finally caught a shiny Lucario. It has good stats. Not perfect, but it's a 14, 14, 14, so I can't complain.
That's pretty good,
So I
Wolf
chose
Doctor.
to mega evolve that shiny. Sister of the podcast, Lady Wolfenstein, also did catch a shiny, the one she got to. Both of us got a shiny in our first raids.
That's crazy. It must have been your connection.
That's right. That is us. You know, the wolves. The mega wolf carios.
And I think since we were talking about the gaming district so much, that the Pokestop of the week should definitely be Bodeborg.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
I do love sending that one out to people. I know not everyone knows about Bodeborg if you're not from this area or from Europe, but as Kevin was trying to say, it's not really an escape room. It's not really an obstacle room. It's some sort of mashup in between, and it's completely amazing. And if you like thinking or puzzles, or torturing your body, I love doing that.
You do love torturing yourself.
This is a wonderful experience. You can go with a group if you can, because a lot of these puzzles, you need other people with you.
Yeah, we need to do this soon. We need to have a Poke Problems podcast event there. Actually,
Yes.
I think that'd be really cool.
We could get Drew to go. I'm sure he would.
Absolutely. There's a lot of past guests we could talk into this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Adventure Week. We talked about it last episode, but they've finally given us some details on the exciting stuff going on.
Ooh, where shall we adventure on Adventure Week? Team Go Rocket, are they back?
That's right. They're taking over Adventure Week.
And it seems like this time we'll be on a mission to rescue Shadow Lugia.
Shadow Lugia is going to be appearing in raids again.
Ooh.
So that's one option. And then there will also be a new special research story featuring Giovanni. So it's been a while since we had a Giovanni research. I say that because I complete them in a timely fashion, unlike Miz Sylver most of the time.
I work on it.
But the newest one will be a Giovanni research featuring Shadow Cresselia.
Oh, now, wait a minute. Shadow Cresselia.
That's a new one.
Whoa, roll that
That's a new
back.
one.
Shadow Cresselia is not in the game yet.
Yeah, that's the new hotness for Adventure Week.
Does this mean that someday we'll get Shadow Darkrai?
I think so. I think
hope
it's
so.
in the works.
I would love to see that.
And there are new shadow Pokemon showing up with Team Go Rocket, including Shadow Timber, Shadow Tortuga, and Shadow Arkin, which I think are all new shadows.
Ooh. I'm trying to think if I have any of those in shadow form. And
I don't think so. And I'm more active in destroying Team Rocket than you are, so I would know.
So this should be a pretty good event. I'm just hoping we can not purify Pokemon. We can teach Pokemon moves to get rid of frustration.
Yes, that will also be happening during this event.
Yes, that's the best.
I never complain about Team Go Rocket Takeover. I love battling grunts and having more opportunities to battle grunts and ruin their lives. Like, I think that's one of your things as a Pokemon trainer.
Wolf Doctor, you would be ashamed of me, as that's the only reason that I'm not level 45 is I need to battle more of Team Go Rocket. So maybe this is the time.
How many more battles do you need, Miz Sylver?
Well, the hard part is that I need 37 more Team Go Rocket leaders.
Wait, is it that many?
You need to do 50 of them. So you've worked your way through a lot of them, and you've worked your way through 100 grunts.
It's 50 times on the leaders. I mean, I guess I just took every opportunity as balloons. Well, man, we gotta have to get into some of this. That's another topic for Back to Basics. What's the deal with Team Rocket?
There's a lot with them.
I also wanted to mention there are some events taking place across the ocean from here, the other way.
Ooh.
Sorry, from California. From the Pacific side, there are some great events happening. City safaris.
All I can get from this is that we need to go over there to Indonesia, South Korea, and all these other fun places.
Yes, Jakarta is having a city safari Saturday, September 21st and Sunday, September 22nd.
Whoa.
And it's part of the Pikachu's Indonesia Journey event, which has Pikachu in the traditional batik shirt. It looks super cool.
Ooh, pretty cool.
And then in South Korea, there's an event happening in Incheon. I think it's only the second Pokemon Go big event like this in South Korea. But it's 3 days, September 27th to September 29th. And it's happening at the romantic Songdo Central Park in Incheon, South Korea.
Romantic.
I know
what this park is like.
I know. That was specified by Pokemon Go, that it was romantic.
Will there be Love Disc there?
Oh my goodness. I have no idea what cute things they'll have there. Let me see if they have any hints in the picture. I see Go-Goat as one of the options there.
That's your romantic ride.
It's not a very romantic Pokemon now that you're saying it.
I believe any Pokemon can be romantic if we do it up the correct way and give it an opportunity to shine.
So romantic.
Tropius is very romantic. Look at those long leaves.
I think Tropius actually is kind of a romantic Pokemon.
It would set the scene, a beautiful outdoor gladed area.
And then they are going to have unknowns in South Korea and Indonesia, I think, as well. So
Wait a minute. Wolf Doctor, you mentioned Pikachu in a shirt, but are those a different color balloons?
oh my goodness. So I wonder if those are the national colors of Indonesia.
There's a Pikachu pictured on the page that has red, gold, white, and black balloons.
Yeah.
I need to journey to Indonesia.
For many reasons, but also this.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Sylver, Pokemon Go has many things going on, as we said, but what about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet?
Well, there is the latest download code for a mystery gift Pokemon. You can get the Fui Coco that belongs to Roy in the Pokemon Horizons TV show.
Are you watching Pokemon Horizons yet, Ms. Sylver?
I mean, I've seen the first episode. Does that count?
Okay, we'll let it count.
I'm excited for this because now we'll have all of them, the Sprigatito and the Quaxley. And if you actually go and change their ribbons, when you throw them out into battle, they actually announce which Pokemon trainer that they belong to.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's a cool feature.
It's neat. It's kind of like when you capture any of the ones from the featured 7-star Terra raids, you can go and update their ribbon so it'll be like, the unrivaled whichever
Blankered,
Pokemon you throw.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Ms. Sylver, when we were at Fan Expo Boston, I think I took a picture of some of the Soda Pop plushes, the first kind of generation of them that were the starters and such. But now there are more.
I didn't even know they were going to be making more. And I remember seeing those at Fan Expo too. I was surprised to see them in person. They're so much brighter and more fun than you can even get from just looking at the images on the webpage.
I find them very cute and very sweet looking.
And the colors, they really are Soda Pop. Like the Larvitar, it's still green, but it's a bright, almost like you'd want to drink this Larvitar. Like if it was a Mountain Dew flavor. Is this Baja Blast?
The Mountain Dew flavor.
That's what it looks like, doesn't it?
I guess so. I think I saw something that explained that the Soda Pop plushes, it's meant to call back to a youthful, sweet time. And that's kind of why they're these cute, sweet little creatures.
And that's Solosis? Don't tell me you don't want to drink that Solosis.
I wanted to bring it to the beach and use it as a beach ball.
That would be fun, too. There's a lot of new beach clothing on the website as well.
Oh, do they have swimsuits, Miss Sylver? Am I crazy?
Oh, no, there weren't any swimsuits,
Dang.
but I did see some cute Alolan-style tops and bottoms.
Okay. Because maybe I should get a Pokemon swimsuit.
I do remember those Sailor Moon swimsuits that we talked about last year sometime. That
So cool.
so great.
There's also lots of new backpacks for back to school.
And they've got other things you might need for school, like pencil cases. And when I was
lunch
in
bags.
lunch bags, some of them are sold out already.
No.
I was at Nintendo New York the other week, and they had some of these objects. I didn't realize these were the new things from the Pokemon Center store. And that Gengar pencil case, it's pretty cute.
Well, I know how you feel about Gengar.
I know how you also feel about Gengar. But they do have a lot of cool things around Nintendo New York that you can look at that are Pokemon related. The FAO Schwartz, of course, has Build-A-Bear Pokemon, and I got to see the Fui Coco that we talked about last week.
Did it sound just as terrifying?
So the one I didn't even look to try and squish it to make noise.
You were too
with
afraid,
it.
Miss Sylver?
I mean, I was just too excited to see it, and then I always enjoy looking at the bodies that are unstuffed.
This just in, the Miss Sylver is really weird.
It's cool, and they have all the little skins for all the different ones.
Just the skin, Miss Sylver.
Yes.
Yay.
The skin of the Munchlax or the Eevee or the Pikachu.
Okay.
But we were talking about the gaming district here in Malden. I'm impressed with the area around Nintendo New York. They're adding in more gaming things because there's now an arcade there that opened just a couple months ago that has a lot of classic arcade games like Galaga, Golden Axe. They even have Tapper. I know you're a big fan of that
Tapper's
game.
hilarious.
And they even have a high score board that they put up people's names for who has the high score on a couple top featured games.
Oh, that's cool. So that's called Arcade, like the letter R-CADE in Rockefeller Square. Apparently there's a great viewing area for the Olympics down there too right now.
There's a big setup that's got giant screens, and people just set up their chairs or sit on the stairs, and everyone's very excited to cheer for all of the teams.
I love watching the Olympics. It's not really a gaming thing, so I shouldn't get too into it, right? But other than Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. But yes.
They're the OG games.
Exactly.
Well, Wolf Doctor, there are more Pokemon events about. The Pokemon Trainer Tour, that's going to be a video series, has just started. There's a trailer you can watch. Have you heard of this?
No, I don't think I've heard about this at all. Tell me more.
So there's a Trainer Tour series, which is a TV show that you can watch on Amazon Prime or on the Roku channel, which follows around a couple personalities as they play the card game and travel about the country in a Pikachu-themed bus van.
What?
And this looks so cool and fun.
They have a
Great
Pikachu
idea.
bus?
Yes, you should see the pictures of the Pikachu bus that they're driving about, and it's cool.
That is awesome. Is it professional players or players who are... who are the players on here?
I'm not familiar with the players, but I'm not familiar with a lot of personalities, so you might recognize some of them. I'm not sure.
Are they world champions? Is that what we're going to see? Like, are these folks going to... Is there going to be an episode set in Alola when they go to the championship this year?
I mean, I hope they drive that thing through the water all the way to Alola, because that would be great.
That's true. That will be difficult. That's very cool, though.
I believe in them. They can do it.
Oh, that's very cool. So that's going to be on Prime Video and Roku, it sounds like. And we
Yep.
can see some more stuff like the trailer on YouTube. Now, Ms. Sylver, you mentioned that you had gotten to see a little bit of the Play Nintendo Tour.
I alluded to it last week, and I didn't want to give anything away for anybody who's local on the East Coast attending to it. But one of my friends, Kirby, made a great video that shows you all of the different cool features that were there. And there was Pokemon.
You were telling me there was a little bit of Pokemon. So you got some Pokemon photo ops and things like that?
There's some Pokemon photo ops, and you can't play the newest game there, but they had these little, I don't know, cabinety doors that you can open up that have a Pokemon on them. And when you open it up, it makes the noise of the Pokemon, which is fun. And it also has some stats about it on the inside.
Okay, that's really funny.
I think it's way too much fun to open up all the doors and listen to them.
Yes, I can
and
picture
have them
you
all
doing that,
screaming
Ms.
at the
Sylver.
same time.
I can picture you doing that. Just the symphony of Poke screams.
Poke screams. But there was a lot of other games you could try and check out there. Like, I, for the first time, got to play Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Have you played any of the Luigi's Mansion
No,
games?
see, I really want to. I've heard great things.
The only one I have is Luigi's Mansion 3. And I was excited to try this one because it first came out on the 3DS all the way back in 2013. And it's been remastered extra features, and looking at it all weekend, I might have to pick it up now.
Now you have to get it, Miss
No.
Sylver.
They also had Mario versus Donkey Kong, which is a game that I was super excited about because it was a game I had played when I was a little kid. Did you ever play this on the Game Boy Advance?
Which Donkey Kong one?
It's Mario versus Donkey Kong, and it's a puzzle
No.
platformer where you have, just like a little screen or two where you have to find different keys to put them in holes
I probably would have liked that.
to rescue all of the little mini Marios.
Yeah, I like
toys.
little puzzle games like that. Huh. So you said you went to the one that was at the mall. What was the name of the mall in New Jersey?
The American Dream Mall.
And it was a great mall. You said they had an H Mart there?
So this mall, it has almost everything except for a movie theater. And there was a Sanrio store, a Hello Kitty store, a Bandai store. You can go ice skating in there. There's a Nickelodeon theme park where you can get slimed. There's a big snow ski slope where you can go skiing or snowboarding inside. An
Okay.
indoor water park.
That's intense. You had mentioned that you mentioned the ski slope and you'd mentioned the Nickelodeon park, but you didn't tell me they had a Bondi store. That's like all the way in.
I hadn't got to look around, and there's even more amazing stores and the food courts. There are so many delicious dumplings. I'm just going to go on and on about dumplings. I know I mentioned them earlier in Malden, but there's so many cool places there and specialty stores. There was a Marvel, little
A
kiosk
Marvel
store
kiosk?
thing. There's just,
So everything, if you're a fan of anything,
if you're a fan of anything, it will be there.
wow.
Highly recommend. And I know we said we were going to talk about the Geneva Museum from Lake Geneva this week. It is the 50th anniversary of Dungeons & Dragons, but I think we're going to have to save it for another week.
For some time when we can get Green Mario. Is Gen Con happening right now, Miss Sylver? When's Gen Con this year?
It is happening this weekend, but I know Baldman Games is running Dungeons & Dragons, and I did see a schedule posted from one of our former special guests, Ginny, about all the fun things that she's doing.
Oh, Ginny's so cool. She's running a ton of events, it looks like.
I want to know what this event she has on Saturday at 4 p.m. is. Monster Menu, Cooking Your Kills.
Oh my gosh.
I have so many questions.
I do think it'd be cool. I mean, I'm sure there's got to be some way to incorporate a cooking mini game into your regular campaigns.
Oh man, see now I just want to do this. This must happen. It's the only choice.
I believe in you, Miss Sylver. Could it happen in DCC? I mean, that would make sense. Our characters are low level. They probably have to make their own meals.
It can happen. It's not my fault if you suffer the consequences of eating ill-prepared food.
I know. Gosh.
You could make so many random charts for this. This would be so fun to design.
It would be fun. Well, Miss Sylver, I think that's all the news we wanted to talk about this week. I was hoping that you would tell the listeners about, where they could find this show.
Is it on the blog?
That is correct. Do you know the name of the blog, Miss Sylver?
Is it pokeproblemspodcast.blogspot.com?
Miss Sylver, you are on fire. On fire. That is correct.
I've only lit myself on fire a couple times. Don't try it at home, kids.
Well, the blog is a great place to keep up with the show. You can see the show notes where you can leave comments. There's a web form. You can email us. You can see our email address there if you want to use it in your own program, too. You don't have to use the weird web form if you're a normal person.
Fancy.
There's a link to the Facebook page, links to the YouTube Music and Apple Podcast store. I'm working on the Spotify still. We're getting there. We're getting close. And, of course, there's links to the X.
Ooh. Is that something along the lines of Mega Pokemon and Friends?
It's at Pokemon Cast. Pokemon Cast. But what about you, Miss Sylver? It's not Miss Sticker. It's something else. What is it?
I think it might be something along of Silver Rayquaza.
If the shiny were silver, that would be pretty cool.
Ooh.
But
that
no,
would be
it's
cool.
just Ms. Sylver. MZSYLVER. Anyway, moving on.
What about you, Wolf Doctor?
Me?
Yes, don't you have an X?
I do, but what is it, Ms. Sylver?
I think it might be something about Dr. Lucario.
The Lucario Doctor. It's the Wolf Doctor at the Wolf Doctor. Well, listeners, thank you for joining us this week on the Poke Problems podcast.
Thank you for listening.
I am the Wolf Doctor.
And this is Miz Sylver.
And we are reminding you to game on! Thank you, Kevin, from the city of Malden, and to the Urban Media Arts.
I can't wait to see what he's playing next.